to the President and the First Family. Sagala concurrently holds the position as acting military assistant to the President. President Marcos, meanwhile, has yet to complete his cabinet as his administration goes into action. They also have yet to hold their first cabinet meeting. We have yet to know when it will take place.
Wala po sa binibigay sa amin na sinasabi nilang deadline. Ang sinasabi is masuri talaga ang pag-evaluate nila dito sa mga kandidato para sa mga posisyon. I understand that this is now going through the final evaluation stage. So, I don't think it will take too long.
Press Secretary Trixie Angeles also says they understand how important the positions are and that they're already on the final evaluation stage, which she adds will not take too long. In the meantime, Angeles says that those who are next in command to the Secretary will serve as officers in charge for these departments. Back to you, Pia.
Rex, any word from the Press Secretary on the President's...
They can assure that they will not use public funds regarding these private parties. And Angeles responded that they are assuring that the President will follow the law and that the President has not done anything in excess of what's written in law. Pia.
Rex and Media there reporting live from Malacanang. Well, Senator Amy Marcos also defending her mother's birthday celebration, calling it a simple get-together with family members and old friends. Again, here's a look at other portfolios yet to be filled. President Marcos has yet to appoint secretaries for the Departments of Energy, Health, Environment, Human Settlements, and Science and Technology, as well as the Commission on Higher Education chairman. While there are agencies without appointed secretaries, other departments are buckling down to work. First, at the Education Department, Vice President and Secretary Sara Duterte thanked her predecessor, Leonor Briones, in a ceremonial turnover. She told stakeholders that she will continue to look into possible areas of improvement in the basic education sector.
I will also take the task with a reminder that we shall continue to find ways to improve basic education in terms of access, equity, quality, resiliency, and governance, to produce learners who can achieve their full potential.
Earlier in the day, Duterte also met with representatives from private education associations. She says the department will provide private schools the assistance they need. A number of private schools have struggled to continue operations since 2020 as thousands of students migrate to public schools amid an economic downturn. Now on to the Interior Department. Secretary Benher Abalos vows to sustain gains from the Duterte administration's war against drugs. Abalos says that under his term, the fight against illegal drugs will be more focused on building up strong cases against suspects. Abalos explains an illegal drug suspect is often not prosecuted because of technicalities in the chain of custody of evidence. Under the law, the initial custody and control of the dangerous drugs confiscated must be witnessed by an elected public official, a representative from the media, or a representative from the National Prosecution Service. But most of the time, Abalos says there is no witness from the media or the Fiscal's office, causing the case to be dismissed.
We will try our best. We will really do our best here. Siguro I will give emphasis aside from the police, no? Yung sinasabi ko kanina. We will make sure that airtight ang kaso. Kasi maski manghuli ka na manghuli, pero kung karamihan dismissed, baliwala ito. No? So, kailangan siguro, hindi lang ang mga pulis ang malinis eh. Yung iba dapat ma-check din eh.
Abalos says he will also work closely with Justice Secretary Boying Remulla on the matter. Well, meanwhile, the Interior Department will also return unused COVID-19 funds amounting to 577 million pesos to the Treasury Bureau. The funds were intended for the hiring of contact tracers and the purchase of health-related products like alcohol and face masks. Abalos explains the amount was not fully utilized because local governments hired their own contact tracers and provided shuttle services for personnel. The Commission on Audit earlier flagged the DILG for failing to make use of its 4 billion peso COVID-19 budget for 2021 with 577 million in unused funds. Abalos says that while the unused funds did not happen during his term, he will have that checked and investigated further. Justice Secretary Boying Remulla identifying 3 attached agencies which he will focus on. These are the Land Registration Authority, or LRA, and the Immigration and Correction Bureaus. Remulla says a syndicate is running the system at the LRA. He adds extortion, human trafficking, and protection syndicates are plaguing the Immigration Bureau. And Remulla says activities that ruin society persist at the Bucor. Just recently, the National Bureau of Investigation filed criminal complaints against police officers who were tagged in the questionable deaths of high-profile inmates at the New Bilibid prison.
The Department of Justice is there to give justice to every man, woman, and child, no matter the circumstance of birth, no matter the economic standing. We will give them all our sense of justice.
Let's make a correction. Hindi dapat police officers yan eh. We're talking about the NBP. Remulla says he plans to stay as Justice Secretary for the entire Marcos administration. More stories ahead. How are other government agencies kicking off the first Monday of the Marcos administration, and some relief for motorists as fuel prices drop? You're watching Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
RPN DXKP Pagadian, ang inyong Radyo Ronda. RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. Live to the world, pinaagi sa FB page, karon mag-download na. Pinaagi sa Google Play o Apple Store, YouTube o Twitter. Alang sa mas kipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran o kalingawan. Ang mas kipakuskan ng inyong Radyo Ronda. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Welcome back to CNN. Philippines COVID-19 infections in Metro Manila may peak in 1 to 2 weeks' time. The Octa Research Group projects cases in the capital region to reach 1 to 2,000 daily. But Octa points out the increase in the positivity rate has slowed down and healthcare use is still below 50%, which means there is no need to raise the alert level yet.
These are just projections. Pwedeng magbago itong mga to. Tumaas siya from 6 to 8%, 6% to 8.3%. Hindi na ito napakalaki. That's why we think na baka mag-peak na soon sa NCR kasi medyo bumabagal na yung pagtaas ng positivity rate.
Octa also notes the significant increase in the positivity rates in Benguet Province, Calabar Zone, Central Luzon, and Western Visayas. The country saw almost 7,400 new cases from June 27 to July 3. Health workers also warning about the alarming increase in dengue cases. Figures show over 51,600 infections were reported from January to June 18th, 58% higher than those tallied in the same period last year.
Dapat tayong maalarma. Sa Singapore, mas madami ang namatay sa dengue rather than COVID. Dapat po tayo mabahala kung ating mga anak o kahit po matanda, kahit po nurse, kahit sino po ay pwedeng mag-dengue sa panahon ngayon kasi tag-ulan po. At saka lagi po natin tandaan na wala pong pinipili ang dengue sa edad. Kahit po 6 months lang.
The Philippine Medical Association says it is awaiting the appointment of the next health chief, citing the urgent need to address health issues, including COVID-19 and seasonal diseases. A bit of relief for motorists after weeks of oil price hikes. Beginning tomorrow, fuel companies will slash diesel prices by 3 pesos per liter. Kerosene used in many households will have an even bigger rollback at 3 pesos and 40 centavos per liter. While the cost of gasoline will stay the same, recent numbers from the Energy Department show fuel prices have risen to up to 99 pesos as of end June. With costly prices at the pump, Transportation Chief Jaime Bautista says the biggest problem for his department is land transport. George Cahila spoke to the News Secretary about his plans and priorities.
This long line of passengers of EDSA Carousel welcomed the first Monday of the new administration. The free MRT ride ended on Thursday, which is why commuters endured the long waiting time under the heat, just to save some of their hard-earned money.
At least nakakabawas ng budget. At saka, yun nga lang, pila lang kasi marami rin. Tiis lang kami, pila, pero okay siya. Nakakabawas sa budget, lalo na sa mga taong maliit lang ang sahod.
Maganda siya, makakatulong para sa amin, lalo na sa aming mga commuters, makakatipid. Yung gastos na pamasahe, para na rin namin nagagastos na allowance pa rin namin.
New Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista says this situation is unacceptable. Hence, the agency will focus its efforts in solving land transportation problems.
I don't think the status quo is acceptable to the President. Nung pinag-uusapan namin ang mga problema, sabi ng Presidente, ayusin natin kaagad ang problema.
Bautista lauds the program of the past administration like the libreng sakay and fuel subsidy for drivers and operators. But seems like it's not enough.
Even marami silang ginawa ay talagang hindi na-resolve lahat ng problema, no?
The Secretary met with the new Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board Chairperson Cheloy Garafil to discuss possible solutions to the problem. While there is no specific details yet on their plans to resolve the problems, especially with soaring oil prices, the department must new programs for the land transport sector.
We will strive to get that balance. Kasi sabi ko nga, kaya kailangan open ang communication sa lahat ng aspeto. We will study that, we will listen to all stakeholders and come up with a win-win solution.
Earlier, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. approved the extension of the Libreng Sakay program for the EDSA Carousel until December and free train rides for students from August 22 to November 4. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
The economic team is aiming to cut the poverty rate to single-digit levels by 2028. Chief Economic Planner Arsenio Barisacan made that pronouncement as he took over the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, today. Barisacan says he wants to steer the economy back to pre-pandemic levels to a consistent growth trajectory of over 6%. This is the second time for Barisacan to lead NEDA. The first was during the term of the late former President Benigno Aquino III.
I recognize such a target is ambitious, but I firmly believe it is achievable. I was fully aware that the challenges before me were far more complex than the last time I was at NEDA's helm. I'm happy to share that the President and the economic team are in substantial agreement on the overall goal of the new administration. We all agree to quickly revive job creation and poverty reduction by steering the economy back to the high growth path while addressing government debt and the sharply rising prices of food and essential commodities.
Balisacan wants to push for economic liberalization reforms such as amendments to the Public Service, Retail Trade Liberalization, and Foreign Investment Acts. Former Solicitor General Jose Calida assumes his post as chairman of the Audit Commission. Calida vows to keep a close watch on agencies to crack down on corruption. He had this to say on whether the COA will continue publishing audit reports on its website.
This is my first day, Give me some more days. I will tell you what you want to do. Magaling yung mga empleyado, so wala akong problema sa kanila. Babantayan talaga namin, di ba? Kasi sa Supreme Court nga lang, panalo na kami palagi. Kaya manalo pa rin kami.
There was no formal turnover ceremony at COA since it has no sitting chairman. The Commission on Appointments did not confirm the last appointee for the post, Davao accountant Rizalina Hustol, which allowed President Marcos to pick Calida as the new COA chief. COA once flagged millions of pesos in allowances for Calida when he was Solicitor General. Lawmakers still pushing for the creation of a special economic zone near the upcoming Bulacan airport. This after President Marcos pointed out defects in the measure he vetoed. Senator Amy Marcos, however, says her brother may not have had the chance to carefully study the bill. CNR Arcangel reports lawmakers say they are willing to work with Malacanang to iron out a better proposal.
Senator Joel Villanueva says he plans to file a new bill creating the Bulacan Airport City Special Economic Zone north of Metro Manila to address issues raised by President Bongbong Marcos. The president vetoed the bill passed by the previous Congress, citing provisions that, quote, pose substantial fiscal risks to the country and its lack of coherence with existing laws and regulations. In particular, he said the bill lacked audit provisions for the Commission on Audit. It also did not specify a master plan setting the proposed eco-zone's boundaries. In a statement, Villanueva said the Senate will work with the executive to come up with a better version, even as a counterpart bill will be filed in the House soon.
My father is in full support of creating an economic zone in the area, but there were shortcomings in the bills that were filed in the upper and lower houses, which of course ESVIC was right to point out. So I believe there is already a alternative bill that will be filed in this coming Congress that will hopefully address the shortcomings that resulted in the bill being vetoed in the first place.
The proposed eco-zone is near the 740 billion peso airport planned by San Miguel Corporation. Presidential spokesperson Trixie Cruz Angeles says the veto will not impact the airport construction.
We understand their feelings of disappointment, but this is the stand of the president. Let's fix this now so that we don't wait for it to be challenged later on.
Bill sponsor Senator Amy Marcos urges the economic team to have a clear policy on the creation of new eco-zones. She also calls for the convening of the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council to guide lawmakers in drafting the remedial bill. Albay Congressman Joey Salceda says safeguards will be put in place to address the president's concerns about the eco-zone. Cian Arcangel, CNN, Philippines.
SMC President and CEO Ramon Ang says he's also open to working with the government to improve the proposal. Ang notes the country could raise up to $200 billion in export revenues from potential foreign investors yearly through the Bulacan Airport Ecozone. Senators are reviving a number of controversial bills in the 19th Congress. Senator Coco Pimentel files a measure automatically suspending the value-added tax and excise tax on fuel when the price of Dubai crude oil breaches $80 per barrel, while Senator Amy Marcos wants the president to have the power to suspend the VAT on petroleum products. Opposition Senator Risa Ontiveros renews her push for the divorce bill and the Sochi Equality Bill, banning discrimination based on a person's sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Ending illegal contractualization is a priority for both Ontiveros and Senator Joel Villanueva. Villanueva also proposes a 100 billion peso stimulus fund for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Senator Bongo, meanwhile, wants to restart discussions on the Disaster Resilience Department, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Virology Institute. A number of centers have filed their top 10 bills, starting with most senior member Lauren de Garda, who is seeking better education for public school students. More stories after a quick break. Pinoy stars gush over Heart Evangelista crossing paths with his K-drama icon. Plus, a historic milestone for Nayon of Twice and her debut album. Details straight ahead on CNN Philippines.
RPN DXKP Pagadian. Ang inyong Radyo Ronda. RPN. Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. Live to the world. Pinaagi sa FB page. Karon, mag-download na. Pinaagi sa Google Play o Apple Store, YouTube o Twitter. Alang sa mas ipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran o kalingawan. Ang mas ipakuskan ng inyong Radyo Ronda.
Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
You're watching Newsnight for the sixth time this year. Pinoy pole vaulter EJ Obiena brings home the gold. The 26-year-old topped the jump and fly meet in Germany on Sunday, Philippine time, clearing 5.80 meters in his third attempt. Obiena also ruled the tournament last year, jumping 5.85 meters. And here at home, Gilas Pilipinas closes out the third window of the FIBA World Cup Asian qualifiers with a victory. The squad conquered India 79-63 on Sunday at the Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay. Dwight Ramos led the team with 21 points, a massive improvement from his 6 points in a match versus New Zealand last week, which Gilas lost. The athlete told CNN Philippine Sports Desk what may have led to the turnaround.
Honestly, I was more focused on defense. I had a hard time playing against New Zealand, and because of their defense, and I just wanted to focus and sort of play the sort of type of defense that they were playing against me. So I'm just trying to improve on that.
Gilas has a 2-2 record in Group A, both wins at the expense of the Indian team. Regardless of results, the Philippine team is competing in the World Cup since it is one of the host countries. Making headlines in entertainment, fashion icon Heart Evangelista meets Korean actress Song Hye-kyo in Paris, France. The two attended a gala for a luxury jewelry brand over the weekend. Pinoy celebrities, some of them fans of the Descendants of the Sun star, left comments celebrating the meetup. Coincidentally, both Hart and Hye-kyo portrayed the character Jessie in the Korean and Philippine adaptations of Full House. And trending today was the phrase Nayon making history, with a Twice singer becoming the first K-pop soloist to have her album chart in the U.S. top 10. Her first solo record Im Nayon debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200. This also became the top-selling album of the week with 52,000 copies sold. Nayon is the first member of the girl group twice to release a solo record. The latest installment in the Despicable Me franchise inspired a viral trend on TikTok, with American teenagers dressed in suits flocking to cinemas to watch the movie. The challenge has gotten so big that film distributor Universal Pictures has tweeted about loving the trend. CNN's Rick Damigella gives us a look at the movie driving the challenge, now showing in local cinemas.
No? Did you just trade my future for a pet rock?
Hide your bananas, the Minions are back in Minions: The Rise of Gru.
You seriously think a puny little child can be a villain? Yes, I am pretty despicable. You don't want to cross me?
Steve Carell reprises his role as the Despicable Gru at the age of 12.
I just tried to kind of sound like Gru on helium a little bit, and just tried to pinch it a little bit and get it up an octave or so.
No, guys, come on. Hey, I've got the image to uphold here.
I think the bigger challenge was to try to make him actually seem like he was younger. You know, there's a certain earnestness to him and a wide-eyed nature that I was trying to imbue with that voice.
Tomorrow is the biggest day of my life. Watch out, world. Here comes Gru!
What are Carell's thoughts on the Minions' enduring popularity?
They're sweet. You know, they're very kind. They're very human, ironically, for an animated movie. But there's a lot of love, and I think they're funny. The Minions are the Three Stooges. You know, they're the Marx Brothers, so they have all of this physical comedy that's really funny. They're so well crafted, and a lot of care goes into them too.
Hello, Peanut?
Oh, yes, please.
Peanut.
In Minionwood, I'm Rick Damigella.
And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Aging is a part of life and something that should be looked forward to. And for women, part of the big change they have to go through in their 40s or their 50s is menopause. In this episode, we'll better understand this natural biological process and what lies beyond menopause. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Let's welcome our guests who will empower us with better understanding on menopause and what women really go through during this natural bodily process. With us is Dr. Angela Aguilar. She's an OB-gynecologist from the Medical City and a faculty of the Division of Reproductive Endocrinology and Infertility at the UPPGH, as well as the past president of the Philippine Society for Reproductive Medicine. We also have Dr. Eileen Cynthia De Lara, who is a cardiologist from the University of Santo Tomas Hospital. Thank you both for joining us on this program. Now, Dr. Angela, let's get straight to the topic. Please describe for our viewers what menopause is.
It's very important that we make sure that the women who are going through this phase, they're able to define what menopause means. Menopause is the cessation of menstruation for about a year. It's not yet over if you have intermittent menstruations or periods that occur infrequently. You have to wait for a year before that event occurs. That said, menopause can be a big transition for many women, lasting in a period of 1 to 2 years prior to the last period and extending 1 to 2 years after the final menstrual period. So the transition is called perimenopause, and the symptoms are found or usually experienced during that time.
So in this episode, we'll be talking about the physical changes, but I'd also like to touch on, Dr. Eileen, some of the sociological, maybe even psychological dimensions to it, because there's a lot of connotations maybe attached to the word menopause.